Kirsten and Shaq. Kirsten and Shaq, y'all. I'm so sick of them. I am so sick of Kirsten and Shaq. It's like a seesaw. Every week it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth between these two complaining about each other. You know, they really are two peas in a pod, because a lot of ways I see things about both of them that's a problem with both of them. And one of the biggest things that I don't like about both of them, especially Kirsten, is they overpromise and undeliver. When I say overpromise, it's because what they do is they spend so much time trying to paint this perfect picture of themselves. Shaq does it and Kirsten does it too. And we all know no one can live up to a perfect picture. So what ends up happening when you can't live up to a perfect picture? Everybody's disappointed because you done promised a bunch of stuff you can't deliver. That's why Kirsten's mom had to come on here and says, get rid of all these expectations. Kirsten's mom knows her daughter, and she knows exactly what the problem is, and it's expectations. And Shaq probably sat over here, and I know he did, and he builds up expectations, and he can't deliver. He can't deliver on the type of attention he said he was going to give Kirsten. And Kirsten can't deliver on nothing she said she was going to deliver. I can't even believe we met any family members. We finally meet family members when? 4 days before decision day? Finally, Kirsten delivers after 4 days. This is what I'm talking about. They're overpromisers and undeliverers. Kirsten talks about how much she is a family person, and none of her family barely even showed up for her. Barely showed up for her. Like I said, nothing is what she says. We've been talking about it all season that Kirsten stuff doesn't add up. And here's another episode that for the longest time, we couldn't even see the family. And then when we finally see the family, their enthusiasm is low. Low. She finally admits to us that the daddy doesn't even want to be on camera. Well, we knew that a long time ago. We knew something was wrong a long time ago. But what does she do? She keeps making up excuses for it. And when we finally get here, the truth is nothing like what she told. Even Shaq was trying to call her on, I don't understand why I never met your family all this time. And she kept saying scheduling. I mean, people got family coming in from out of town, and Kirsten's family is down the street on Highway 78. Highway 78 in Nashville, Tennessee. And her family couldn't even come over and meet Shaq, couldn't do no FaceTime, couldn't do no phone conversations, couldn't do nothing. Even when the mama do show up, he got to run out to the hall and track her down. Because I guess she was going to try to pretend like she couldn't find the apartment and left. She was going to send a text later and say, girl, I was trying to find you, but I couldn't find you, so I just went on home. This is reminiscent of the wedding when they had to send out a search party for the mom and then. Kirsten and this idea what her family is, it's not that. Her family ain't that close. I'm telling you now, her family is not that close. But she wants to paint a picture like she's a family-oriented person. And the truth of the matter is she really isn't. And this old fake visit to a church, that ain't even their church. That ain't their home church. Talking about they want to go together, go to church together, a family that prays together, stays together. We need to go to church every single week. And then they go to an empty church house where don't nobody know them. If you go to church every single week, where's your church home? Where's your pastor? We should know who he is. There should be somebody from your congregation there. Something. But nothing. Trying to make us pretend like they're so religious, they're so into the church, but none of them probably been in church for 3 or 4 years. Like I said, and ain't nothing wrong with it, but you build yourself up, and then it's like this complete letdown because you can't live up to the hype that you built up for yourself. And this little dinner they planned for her family, I wouldn't come either. I wouldn't come to no dinner party where I got to sit on the couch and eat with a plate on my lap. That's like a Super Bowl party. That ain't no dinner party. If I got to put a plastic plate on my lap, then you invited me to a Super Bowl party. You ain't invited me to no dinner. Kirsten talking about she want to be a homemaker, and I have not seen one homemaking skills. Every time she has somebody over, she's either serving pizza or heating something up in the microwave. And then she sit up there eating before her mama even came. Who eats before the guests arrive? This girl ain't got no homemaking skills. I mean, they could have at least ate at the little breakfast bar or whatever in the kitchen. They could have got some TV trays. They could have had something. People, don't give no dinner parties and have people eating food on their lap or hunched over eating on it on some low ass coffee table. Kirsten ain't got no homemaking skills. That's what I'm saying. All this stuff they say about themselves between Shaq and Kirsten is all hype. It's all hype. What do you young people call it now? Cap. Is that what it's called nowadays? Cap. Back in my day, it was hype. All hype. Now I guess it's called cap. But none of them, either one of them, can deliver on it. Can't deliver on it. And Shaq over here, like I said, is just as picky, just as moody, just as everything as Kirsten is. But Kirsten has finally met her match. Kirsten is used to being the picky and high maintenance one in a relationship, and she has found a man who is more picky and more high maintenance than she is. I don't know what Kirsten's game plan was coming into Married at First Sight, but it was a bad one. I believe Kirsten's whole game plan was to come in and play hard to get. I really do believe that's her game plan. That's probably the way she dates. She wants a man to chase her. Like I said, she's picky because she wants you to do more and more and more and more. I never thought it was because she wasn't attracted to Shaq. I never, ever thought that. I thought it was all a game. And I'm so convinced of it now that this is Kirsten's game she plays out in the dating world. She builds herself up. She gets a lot of hype about herself. She gets the men all interested in her. Like I said, it's bumping up her price so they could, I want more from you. Or I want to be with you, so they could chase her because she loves to be chased. She loves people to do things for her, right? And then what she does is after she feels, she's roped you in and you've done enough and she's, squeezed enough out of you, then what she decides to do is she wants to then give in to you. The problem she ran into with Shaq with that game plan is she met a man who's just as picky as her, just as temperamental as her, just as hard to please as her. So when she finally decided to let her guard down or stop this charade or this game she was playing, this little cat and mouse game she was playing, he was already checked out. He was already turned off because technically, like I said before, Shaq likes women to chase him. I said it from the beginning that there's no reason for a man like Shaq to have had a problem dating women, especially when he is on the campus of 22-year-old women, which are definitely college age. He has surrounded by them. He has always, and what I've said is Shaq has turned down a lot of women. Dr. Pepper said it, that he can be picky. Shaq has turned down a lot of women. I know everybody thinks it's because he's got sugar in his tank. I don't think so. I don't think you could say that. I think it's what he is he likes women to chase him. He's picky, he's hard to please, he's moody, and he likes women to chase him. Does that mean he necessarily is interested in people of the other sexual orientation? I don't think that's what it is. I think he's a picky. I think he's hard to please. And he looks for a woman to do. Because when you look at the things he's asking Kirsten to do, he's always asking her to do more and more. Go to more seminars. Go do this. Go do that. But I don't see Kirsten doing too much for Shaq. I know they showed that clip about, do you want me to make you some salmon and broccoli? She didn't cook that salmon. She did not cook that salmon. She ordered that salmon and it was in the thing. And when she said, do you want me to fix you some salmon and broccoli? What she meant was, do you want me to put it on a plastic plate and put it in the microwave? Don't get fooled, people. Kirsten ain't cooking nothing. You can kind of tell that the family's sick of Kirsten. That's another thing I'm seeing. Because that brother is, I believe, younger than Kirsten. And he had more good advice for Kirsten than she had for herself. That mother also had good advice. But let me tell you, that mother's advice was primo. Anybody that's been married, one thing married people will tell you, get used to being let down. If you're going to be married to someone for 20, 30, 40 years, and you believe your mate, your spouse, is never going to let you down, then you in for a rude awakening. There is no way anybody can always hit the mark with you or anyone every single day of the year for your entire marriage. So if you're a person with high expectations, real high expectations, get ready to get let down. Get ready to get let down. And it may just be small areas you're let down. I'm not saying they're going to let you down in big areas, but you better learn how to deal with being let down. And that's what's going on with Shaq. He doesn't know how to deal with being let down. Like they said, he talks about it too long. He holds on it too long. Kirsten's on the after party talking about she doesn't think he's still over her not going to Memphis. Once again, not letting it go, not being able to get over not being let down, not knowing how to move past things, acting as if everything is so important. You better learn to pick your battles, because being let down is part of marriage. It's not only part of marriage, it's part of relationships, period. It's part of friendships, it's a part of a lot of things. Now, how much you're let down and how often you're let down, you have some degree to work on that. But the idea that people aren't going to let you down and they're not going to always live up to what you want from them, you better get used to it. You better get used to it. But the problem with Kirsten and Shaq is the letdown is sometimes too big because they hype themselves up too much. Too much. They oversell themselves. They oversell themselves. So you come to expect all this from them. And then the real deal is like pennies on the dollar. Pennies on the dollar. Kirsten says she don't know what she's going to choose to do with Shaq on decision day. I'm under the belief that Kirsten is going to say yes, y'all. I'm starting to believe that Kirsten is going to say yes to see if they can work out their issues after the lights and cameras and everything are gone. I'm starting to believe that. But Shaq, on the other hand, I'm believing he's going to come out with a no. That's what I'm predicting right now. And I know we got a few more episodes before decision day, I believe. But right now, I'm predicting Kirsten is going to say yes and Shaq is going to say no. Shaq has never gotten over what Kirsten did to him in the beginning of this relationship. He's never gotten over it. He don't get over a lot of stuff. He doesn't get over it. He never recovered from it. He never got over it. And he was already a picky person. He's already temperamental. He's already moody. And she would have had to do a whole lot to dig him out the hole that she put him in at the very beginning of this marriage. Like I said, her game plan was a bad game plan. A bad game plan. And it's probably a bad game plan out in the world, period. Because I'm telling you, Kirsten's hype about herself does not live up to the real deal. It doesn't. She's a good-looking woman. She's got good things going for her. But I'm telling you, she overbuilds herself in a lot of areas. She's so family-oriented. Her family's so close. She's a daddy's girl. She's a homemaker because she bakes cookies. We ain't seen her cook the meal. Everything is microwave. Everything is takeout. We ain't seen the family. Nothing. Nothing. Like I said, has she sold a house? Is she really a realtor? I'm telling you, I don't know what has Kirsten told us that was true that has turned out to be actually the truth. What is it? Somebody help me down in the comments. Somebody help me. And she wants to know why Shaq is so into this work and this PhD and all this other kind of stuff, because that's where he gets all his validation from. That's where he gets all his validation from. And he can walk around talking about he's in a PhD program, but he's failing the PhD program. Like I said, all hype. All hype. A man walking around talking about I'm in my PhD program, and you come to find out he's failing the whole program. Like I said, it's a letdown. It is a letdown. He talking about Shaq tomorrow. He's mentally trying to balance school work and work. Well, you should have figured that out before you came on Married at First Sight. If you didn't have the right balance in your life before getting married, you should have come on this show. That's why I got the problem with Gina too. Talking about she trying to balance starting a new business. Well, you shouldn't have got married. You shouldn't have got married if you hadn't gotten a place to your life where you had room in it for another person. What's the other person supposed to do? If you haven't already made the room for them, what are they supposed to do? I can't stand when people say, well, I make room when the person shows up. No, you make room before I come. You know what I'm saying? That's like you coming over and staying at a person's house and there ain't nowhere to put your stuff. There ain't nowhere to sleep. They ain't made up no bed for you, nothing. And they say, well, I was waiting for you to get here. No, you're supposed to prepare the room before I get here. Prepare the room before I get here. If you expected me and you want me to be invited into your home, then your house should be prepared for me when I get here. Not when I get here, I got to watch you prepare for it. And I got to what? Sit in the living room while you make up a bed for me? Ugh. Like I said, I am sick of people, Kirsten and Shaq, up here hyping themselves up, okay? Trying to make themselves pretend like they something that they not. Neither one of them have lived up to their hype. Not a one of them. They show those clips where Kirsten's asleep on the couch and he's coming in late. He just walks in and goes straight to the bedroom, doesn't talk, doesn't say much. But one of those clips, he came on with gym clothes on. One of those clips, if y'all look closely, he came home with gym clothes on, which makes me believe that what Shaq does is when Shaq gets home from work, he goes to the gym. He goes to the gym. And is Kirsten's ass going to the gym with him? No. She was laid out, stretched on the couch. One of those clips, if y'all go back, he was not coming home with work clothes on as if he was coming home late. He was coming home from the gym, or probably in that building. And did Kirsten's ass go to the gym with him? No. Kirsten's ass talking, running around here talking about she gaining weight, she getting fluffy, and he's the one making her fat. No, don't believe it. I told you, Kirsten has a laziness to her. There is a laziness to Kirsten. She wants you to do everything. everything. Like I said before last week, Kirsten wants you to do everything. That's why her love language is acts of service, because she don't cook nothing. Kirsten probably come home or be home the most of the day because she's a realtor, doing nothing but watching TV and laying up on the couch. And then when Shaq gets home, he's tired of looking at it. He's tired of looking at a woman who's only working 4 hours a day, probably selling no houses, don't make no dinner, and come home and lay on the couch. She talking about she washing clothes. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it, because we know whatever Kirsten says is always a lower. It's lower. It's never what she says. It's lower. She needs to be getting up and going to the gym with him. If she getting fluffy and gaining weight, then why was she down at the gym with him? Because he was definitely coming from the gym. He had on gym clothes and he was carrying a gym stuff with him. So she should have been down there in the gym or working out with him. If she wants some quality time and some time to spend and they want to have more conversation, she should have been down at the gym. Kirsten over here talking about she prays daily for this marriage. I don't believe that either. I don't believe it. I'm telling you, Kirsten said stuff that I don't believe. I don't believe Kirsten gets on her hands and knees every day and prays for this marriage and does the prayer she's talking about. I'm not saying she doesn't want it to happen, but I don't believe she actually prays for it. You know how people, when you be talking to them, through text or something, and you be like, yeah, I'm having a hard day, and somebody says, well, I'll pray for you. Do they all go back and pray for you? Do they all go back and pray for you? I'm not saying it's not their intention or not in their heart, but do they really stop what they're doing at that moment or later on in that night and actually say a real prayer for you? A real prayer. A lot of people talk, but they don't really do it. A lot of people say that they'll pray for you, and when they said I'll pray for you, that was the prayer. They don't only go back and pray, and that's what I think Kirsten was doing. When Kirsten says, I pray for us every single night, no, you don't. You may think about it, but do you really get on your hands and knees and pray to God? I don't believe it, because when they were sitting up in that church, I was like, don't nobody know them in that church. That ain't their home church. That is not their home church. They rented a church to film in, and they sat up there in an empty church. Like I said, all hype. Just all hype. And finally, the brother couldn't even show up to this dinner because he had to work. There was not one day your brother had off work where you guys couldn't go on a Saturday, a Sunday. He may work weekends. Would he working 24 hours a day? Y'all couldn't coordinate a schedule just so for two people could come over and meet your husband. Like Shaq said, who's really the problem with him meeting the family? Is it the family doesn't want to meet him? Is it Kirsten doesn't want to meet the family? What is the real truth? And that was a very important question that Shaq asked. And what did Kirsten do? Blow him off and say it's just scheduling. It's just scheduling. She blew him off. She didn't want to say the real answer. It's a lot more to that. It's a lot more, because I don't believe this family is as close as she says. I don't believe it one bit. I don't believe it one bit. And so they have no feeling that they need to go above and beyond. Even when that mama showed up, that mama looked tired. Obviously, she looked like she came from work. She looked like she had on some type of nursing outfit. So she looked like she had to come over there for after work to film. She was tired. And she said, let me give you guys some advice, because I ain't got time to be sitting here with you two over expectation people. She told them you need to get rid of your expectations. You need to get rid of your expectations, because everybody going to be disappointed. I heard that mama, and you could tell that mama has been telling her daughter that her whole life. And that mama's been saying, this ain't nothing new with Kirsten. This is nothing new. I've been here before, and I'm about as tired of my daughter as I'm tired of this job I had to come to when I got here, because I've told her this for years, that her expectations are too high. And even now, when I believe of the two right now, they're both hype, they're both capped, whatever you want to call it. I believe Kirsten's bad start put them in the hole so deep, especially with a person like Shaq, that he couldn't recover. There's certain people that can't recover from things. Gina's one of them. Gina can't recover. Gina never recovered. You see, Jasmine over here, she can recover. Certain people can recover and certain people can't. People who are already wounded, people who already have soft spots, people who already have weak points, it's harder for them to recover when you hit them in their weak point. And Kirsten over here, when she hit Shaq very early on this marriage, he could never recover. He was already picky. Okay, he already wants to be looked at as the most eligible and wonderful man in the world, and you slapped him basically in his weak point, and he could never recover. Oh, these two won't make it. They won't make it. I don't know. I don't think they'll make it. Even if Kirsten says yes and Shaq says no, I don't feel like they're going to be able to recover, and I don't feel like they're going to be able to make it in the real world, because what they need from the other person, they're going to need a person who tries and tries and tries and never gives up. And the two of them are too much alike because each of them wants the other person to do all the work. There is the problem. They each want to receive the work from the other person, but they're not actually willing to give. They got a whole lot of complaints. They got a whole lot of expectations, but none of them can deliver on darn near anything. I'm sick of them. I'm ready for decision day, y'all. Bring on a decision day. That's it, y'all. Please watch my other videos. Talk to you later. Bye.